With the fall 2020 release of the PS5, gamers were able to elevate to a new level with the PlayStation's ultra high-speed processing and built-in PCIe Gen 4 SSD. Gamers now have some of the best choices for next-gen console games, but also as time goes by and you've collected more and more games and media, the quicker that internal SSD starts to fill up. The solution? Installing an M.2 PCIe Gen 4 SSD into the PS5's expansion slot. By adding a compatible Gen 4 SSD into the console, you can expand the storage capacity of the PS5 and play games straight from the expansion SSD while still maintaining the high-speed load times and performance of the built-in storage. Before we get started on the installation, let's first talk a little bit about the expansion SSD requirements. First and foremost, the expansion SSD must be a PCIe Gen 4x4 M.2 NVMe SSD. And that PCIe Gen 4 means high speeds. PlayStation recommends an SSD with sequential read speeds of 5,500 megabytes per second or faster. So make sure you check your SSD performance before purchasing, because not all PCIe Gen 4 SSDs get up to that 5,500 megabytes per second. Now with that high performance and high speed comes the need for us to talk about heat management. To maintain transfer rates and avoid thermal throttling, PlayStation recommends a secondary cooling structure like a heatsink to be used with the expansion SSD. You can buy an integrated heatsink and SSD, or you can add a third-party heatsink to a bare drive. But before you buy a heatsink, make sure you check your console's dimension requirements. The heatsink should be no more than 110 millimeters long by 25 millimeters wide by 11.25 millimeters high. For a full breakdown on the PS5's M.2 SSD compatibility requirements, head to the Sony PlayStation link in our description. Now those specs and requirements may seem a little daunting, but don't be worried because Seagate has a drop-in solution with the FireCuda 530. The 530 is a PCIe Gen 4 SSD with sequential read speeds of up to 7,300 megabytes per second, and it's fully compatible with the PS5 expansion slot. The 530 comes in both a standard bare drive format or with a custom built-in heatsink, and the FireCuda 530 heatsink meets all of PlayStation dimension requirements, so it's an easy drop-in expansion solution. Today, we're going to use the FireCuda 530 with heatsink to show you how to install an expansion SSD into the PS5. But before we get into installing, you're going to need a well-lit room, a flat surface, and a number 1 Phillips head screwdriver. Start by making sure your PS5 software is up to date by heading to Settings, then System, followed by System Software, and then System Software Update and Settings. Here you'll select Update System Software before clicking Update using Internet. Once that software update is complete, we're going to press and hold the power button for 3 seconds to turn off your PS5 console. Remove all the cables and devices from the console and wait for the PS5 to cool down. If you haven't done so already, now is also the time to remove the standing base from the console. Before you open your PS5, make sure you touch a metal grounded object to remove any static electricity from your body. Not doing this step could cause damage to your FireCuda 530 SSD and/or your PS5 console. Next, place your console on a flat surface and let's remove the cover. Position the console so the screw hole on the base is facing towards you with the PS5 logo face down and the power button on the left-hand side. From here, you'll place your palms near the top corners of the PS5 and gently pull up the cover and pull it towards yourself. Beneath it, you'll find a long rectangle expansion slot cover with 1 screw securing it. Remove the screw using your Phillips screwdriver and pull the expansion slot cover away. Inside the expansion slot, you'll find a spacer that should be moved to the 2280 position. Now, take your FireCuda 530 by the edge and align it with the notch on the expansion connector, and then starting from a diagonally upward position, firmly insert it all the way into the slot. Make sure the FireCuda 530 is inserted completely, or it can cause damage to your PS5. Next, tilt the FireCuda 530 down and fasten it with the included screws. Attach the expansion slot cover and fasten the screws onto the top. And reattach the PS5 cover, positioning it and sliding it into place until you hear a click. And there you have it. Now reconnect all your cords, turn on the power, And once the power is on, a formatting guide will take you through an on-screen directions for formatting the new expansion SSD. Finally, to ensure your games are downloading to the FireCuda 530, just head to your home screen and select Settings, then Storage, and then Installation Location. With the FireCuda 530 installed, you now have more space for games and apps, all playable at the same performance and speed as the internal SSD.
The 8TB Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus is coming. If you've been following us on social media, then you would have seen us tease this thing, but we're here to tell you it's officially coming soon. By the way, if you haven't followed us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, then go ahead and do it. Hi there, my name's Mike, and here at Sabrent we talk about tech and tech related stuff, so go ahead and click that subscribe button and notification bell so you stay updated. The story began by us making this, the Sabrent Rocket Q, which was a fantastic and affordable drive. Last year we made an 8TB version of it, and it was the only drive of its kind, and we were blown away by how many people loved it. We made the drive that not only was fast, but provided unparalleled storage amount in an NVMe M.2 form factor. And not only that, but we managed to make it the most affordable 8TB NVMe drive out there. We've seen some incredible builds with this SSD, from gaming rigs all the way up to full-on studio production builds and multi-RAID systems, with more of these 8TB drives in one build than I've ever thought imaginable. The amount of people and companies sending us and tagging us in all these amazing rigs has just been inspiring to us, and we actually share them throughout the company, as it really does make us proud of the stuff that we make. So we got it. Many of you loved the 8TB Rocket Q, but the one question we kept getting was, when are you going to make a faster one? And we were working on one, we just couldn't tell you just yet. It wasn't easy, especially with everything obviously going on in the world right now, and the technical challenges that come with obviously pushing the limits of NVMe M.2. We worked extremely hard to make this drive the fastest possible 8TB NVMe drive. We spent such a long time getting the firmware just right to ensure that no matter how you plan on using this drive, whether it's in your gaming or video editing machine to a full-on industrial rig, we wanted to make sure that this never skipped a beat. The 8TB Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus SSD is now ready for prime time. So this uses PCIe Gen 4, allowing for speeds of up to 7,100 megabytes per second. If you need more information on the differences between TLC and QLC NAND, then I'll have a fantastic video linked in the cards above for you guys to watch. We have filled this SSD full of NAND 1TB chips on both sides, and driving these chips is a custom controller and custom firmware paired with fast DRAM memory, meaning that long-term fast and consistent performance. This also means it uses a 4th generation LDPC ECC engine, end-to-end data path protection, advanced wear leveling, bad block management, and smart ECC. Also, if you plan on getting this drive, then make sure to use our Sabrent heatsink for PC for the best cooling performance for this NVMe SSD in your PC, as we want to make sure that you are keeping this SSD as cool as possible when you're pushing this drive. We've seen how you like to use our drive, so honestly, do it a favor and just get one of these. So some of you may be asking, why did we make an 8TB SSD besides our customers telling us to do it? It was less than 2 years ago we introduced the first 4TB PCIe NVMe drive, and some of you questioned it, yet we are now seeing people using the 4TB drive not to only run it in their PCs and RAID NAS rigs, but also in the PS5. I would have looked crazy years ago if I said that we would be running 4TB SSDs in our gaming consoles, but well, here we are. Games, apps, programs, and video files are growing in size due to the amount of data that they contain. So it's no wonder why the people are requesting more and more storage, and the 4TB drive is becoming the new norm, and we generally see the 8TB being the next standard. And we hope to again drive the market forward with this. Honestly, it was only a few years ago that people were running NVMe SSDs for just their operating system, and we are now seeing people replacing their entire hard drives and 2.5-inch SSDs for larger capacity NVMe SSDs for faster speeds and easier form factor, especially with the boom and rise of mini ITX builds over the last few years. This has honestly been months and months of hard work with our engineers and just team working really hard to give you the best possible drive on the market.
The way Maingear has always really differentiated ourselves is we have a passion for craftsmanship and performance. So that comes down to the way we build the PCs, but then also the parts we select. One of the challenges that we faced is when the new PCIe 4 NVMe drives launched. It was a brand new technology, it's something that we hadn't seen before. And so we need to make sure that it's going to integrate well into all the components that we offer. We'll run a series of internal synthetic benchmarks that are going to test things like sequential reads, random reads and writes, and then we're going to compare that to everything that's on the market, but then we're also going to do long-term reliability testing as well to make sure that it's going to last in the lifetime that the customer has their system. The difference with Samsung is that they do all their controllers in-house, and so you know that you're getting an end-to-end solution, which is a huge advantage compared to people that are using third-party controllers and third-party firmware and don't have control of the entire stack.
At the end of the day, the customer and user benefits from the SSD pure speed and sustainability, because SSD is just that solid state drive. No moving parts, it lasts a long, long time. SATA is fast, but NVMe is light years faster than SATA. The Samsung SSD products that Maingear primarily is using now is our flagship 980 Pro Gen 4 NVMe, both 500 gigabyte and the 1 terabyte. It reaches up to speeds of 7,000 megabytes a second. It rivals anything out there, and we're super proud that Maingear is utilizing it with us.
One of the competitive advantages that we have as a business is being time to market with the latest technologies. Our relationship with Samsung has always been fantastic. We're able to test products before they come out, make sure that we have the time to validate it, but also get the continued long-term support throughout the product lifecycle to make sure that we're, offering the best thing that we can.
These NVMe models in general, they're a very simplistic installation. It's click, down, screw. So it's not as intimidating as some would think. The 980 Pro Gen 4 NVMe is for a lot of different applications and verticals out there. For one of the first and foremost people think is gaming because of the cutting edge speed, but there's many other use case applications. Pro AV, film creation, architectural, 3D rendering, anything that really requires cutting edge speed can take advantage of this 980 Pro.
Maingear wants to keep innovating, keep releasing products that push the boundaries of what gaming performance can be. It's very important for us to pick partners that share our approach to technology, share the ideals we have, share the quality passion that we have as a business, and Samsung is the perfect partner for that.